She didn't even warm up to it. We were standing in my kitchen, the late afternoon light flattening everything into soft grays. She was scrolling on her phone, half listening. Already sure of the answer she expected. "So yeah," she said, not looking up. "Flights are cheaper if I book this week. I just need you to cover it." I waited for the rest of the sentence. The part where she explained why. Or how this had anything to do with me. When it didn't come, I asked. "Cover what?" "The trip," she said, finally glancing up, a flicker of impatience crossing her face. "Europe, 3 weeks. Everyone else already said they can't help." There it was. Help. A word that had been doing a lot of heavy lifting in this family for years. I leaned back against the counter. "I'm not paying for that." She laughed, sharp and quick. Like I'd made a joke without realizing it. "Why not?" I could have listed reasons. I could have mentioned my mortgage, my retirement account. The fact that I don't treat my savings like a community potluck. I didn't. "I don't want to," I said. That was when her tone shifted. Not louder. Colder. "You don't have kids," she said. "You can afford it." It wasn't an argument, it was a verdict. I felt something old stir in my chest, not anger exactly, more like recognition. This was the role I'd been given long ago. The extra adult. The margin. The one whose life was apparently all blank space waiting to be filled by other people's needs. "I'm still not paying for it," I said. She stared at me for a second, as if recalculating. Then she shrugged, picked up her bag. "Whatever," she said. "You've always been useless to this family anyway." She left without another word, the door closing softly behind her. No slam, no drama. Just a neat little insult placed on the table between us. I smiled. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. But because something in me finally stopped trying to prove otherwise. That night, I didn't pour a drink. I didn't pace. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. There's a certain kind of clarity that comes after you're dismissed so casually. You start to see patterns instead of moments. The phone plan I'd added her to, just for a year, when she started college. The car insurance I kept paying after she graduated because money was tight. The streaming services logged in on devices I'd never owned. The monthly transfer I labeled MISC because it was easier than admitting it was permanent. None of it had ever been announced as dependence. It had arrived in increments. Reasonable ones. Temporary ones. I went through them slowly. I canceled the transfers. Removed my card, downgraded the plans. Not angrily. Not dramatically. I didn't block anyone. I didn't send a message. I just stopped paying for things that weren't mine. When I closed the laptop, it was almost midnight. The house was quiet. I slept better than I had in weeks. The screaming started the next morning, voicemails first, long ones. Then short ones. Then texts that swung wildly between fury and disbelief. "What did you do? This better be a mistake. Answer your phone." I didn't. The group chat lit up. My sister, my mother. A cousin chiming in with a question mark like a flare. By early afternoon, the tone changed. Apparently the phone company didn't care that my niece was upset. The bank didn't care that this was family money. The apartment complex didn't care that she thought it was handled. An office manager, someone none of us knew, sent an automated email stating that payment had failed and services would be suspended if not resolved by end of day. Authority has a way of stripping emotion out of things. No raised voices, no history, just policy. That was the moment control shifted, even if no one wanted to say it out loud. She came by that evening. Unannounced this time. She didn't sit. She stood in the doorway like she was bracing for impact. "You cut me off," she said. "Yes," I replied. "You didn't even tell me." "I didn't need to." Her face flushed. "Do you know what position this puts me in?" I nodded. Yes. She waited for more. An apology, an explanation. Something to push against. When it didn't come, her voice rose. "You can't just do that." "I can," I said. For a moment, I saw it land. Not the loss of money, but the loss of leverage. The realization that the ground she'd been standing on wasn't solid anymore. "This is why no one takes you seriously," she snapped. "You think this makes you powerful." "No," I said. "It makes me finished." She stared at me, confused. "Finished paying," I clarified. "Finished being open to like that." She opened her mouth, then closed it. There was nothing in her arsenal for this version of me. No guilt button, no emergency tone. No appeal to family unity that didn't circle back to my wallet. She left again. Louder this time. The days that followed were quieter than I expected. There were accusations, yes. Suggestions that I'd changed, that I was being selfish, that I was making a point. But there were also pauses. Awkward recalibrations. Conversations that stalled when they realized there was nothing to extract. No one apologized. I hadn't expected them to. What surprised me was the absence of relief on their faces when I stopped filling the gap. As if my usefulness had been the only thing holding certain relationships together, and without it, no one knew what to say. I didn't feel victorious. I felt steady. Some nights, I missed the illusion of closeness, the feeling of being needed. But I didn't miss the way it had hollowed me out. A week later, I saw a photo online. My niece at a cafe. Suitcase at her feet, Europe still happening, just smaller, tighter, funded by someone else or something deferred. Good for her, I thought. And I meant it. We haven't spoken since. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. What I know is this: when she called me useless, she was right about one thing. I'm no longer useful to a system that only valued me when I paid. And somehow, that's the most dignity I've felt in years.